I mean, basically, the program, as you know, is an alternative to traditional financing. So those that don't qualify for, programs like Care Credit or Springstone or, the ones that are offered for medical practices can be approved because they're not subject to a credit check. The enrollment process is very easy, and the bottom line is that the patients are getting the treatment that they want and need and are asking for. And because it's a non-recourse program, the practice itself is protected. So we're not new to the industry. We were founded in 2006. We're A-rated with the Better Business Bureau, and for someone that offers financing and does collections and guarantees payments, that's huge. Although we operate in all 50 states, we're primarily coast to coast. So what we do is we provide a no interest from the traditional standpoint program where everyone can be approved. We don't require a credit check, and like I said, it's a non-recourse program, so all the payments are guaranteed. How it works is that we require that the practice or the business collects 30% or more up front. So in a $1,000 treatment, you would have to collect $300 or more from the patient or the client the day that they schedule the financing.
Okay.
And then of that balance, you're going to ask them what they can afford to pay monthly. It can be as little as 3 months, as long as 48 months. You determine the length of the plan. There are no minimums, and the maximum you can run is $20,000.
Okay, now I'm going to assume that this runs pretty much the same as we're doing it for a funeral, right?
It's the same exact thing.
Exactly, okay.
So in this scenario, just to keep the math simple, we're using $1,000, okay?
Okay.
With a funeral, I mean, it could be $15,000 or $16,000,
okay.
As you know. And sometimes coming up with $15,000 or $16,000 in cash at one time can be very difficult at best.
Okay.
So in this situation, there's $1,000 for the base cost for the treatment or the service, whatever that may be. We add the one-time 15% flat fee of $150, which is based on 15%. We're not new to the industry. We're an established program since 2006. We primarily serve the dental side of the market, although we cater to even automotive and funeral homes for that matter. So it's a unique concept that's out there in that we don't require a credit check. We go up to $20,000 without a credit check, and there's some basic requirements. But the biggest thing is that we guarantee payments to the practice that uses us for their financing. So we're walking through a scenario where someone wants to borrow $1,000 and how it works, and that's what you're seeing on my screen.
All right,
so welcome and join us. So yeah, on a $1,000 procedure, we add a one-time administration fee of 15%, and that's actually collected over the life of the plan. We don't even ask for that up front. So the total amount financed would be $1,150, and they're going to put down $300, which is the minimum based on the treatment plan, which leaves a balance of $850. So in this example, the patient agrees to 5 monthly payments of $170. You got the down payment that covers your hard costs right there and there, and then once your hard costs are covered, it's not a problem to extend them over time, especially when your payments are guaranteed. So there's a $35 application fee that's billed directly to the client. Now, that fee is waived on plans that are less than $300. So you may have some in your program, if, for example, Jerome, you may have a wellness plan or something that's, $250 or $300. That admin fee will be waived on those people, okay?
Okay, great.
So moving forward, here's the 3 steps that's needed to run a patient through. They have to have a valid ID. A driver's license is sufficient for that. They have to have a debit card that's tied to a checking account, like the one you and I carry, not one of those prepaid things. They simply run the deposit through the software, and at that stage, that patient is approved and the practice is guaranteed on all the monthly payments.
What about PayPal cards?
We don't do prepaid cards. We don't do Amex. We only do debit cards as the primary holder.
All right.
And the reason for that is for chargeback.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, and here's you'll see in just a second when we have this. See the payment plan here. At the top, this is the information on the practice itself. On the middle, this is the guarantor, or the patient, or the patient's parent, or whoever the guarantor of this plan is. It summarizes the plan, what they're agreeing to, what the start date is, when it begins, and then ongoing, they're going to have 5 payments of $170 beginning on such and such a date. They sign it, you sign it, all the relevant information is here, and you're making a copy of their photo ID, copy of the front of the debit card, and a copy of the transaction receipt. With that information, if they try to go back to their bank and do a chargeback against the practice, we can show that they provided all this information and that this is a valid plan and it's not subject to a chargeback. So when we say the payments are guaranteed, it's from a front end and a back end standpoint.
Okay.
Any questions on that part?
No, I'm good.
All right. So what's going to happen after they do this deposit? They're going to become a part of a group of people that have a monthly payment due to the practice. In this case, and I highly suggest that you only do it the 5th or the 20th of the month. And the reason for that is the people that get paid once a month, which are, some teachers, military, retirees, only get paid once a month on the 1st. Those people you want to offer the 5th. The rest of the people in the world get paid twice a month, and you're going to have them on the 20th because they're typically paying their mortgage or their rent on the 1st, and that's when they have the money. So you simply come in, you click the Send Complete button, and as long as everything lights up in green, they're good to go. It's just as if you're running each individual card. And when you get up, to 200 or 300 patients, this is a really nice thing. You just click a button. Now, let's say you click this button and one of them comes up in red. What that means is that there's some sort of issue with that account. Now, that could be a variety of things. It could be that LifeLock shut down their account because of some sort of suspicious activity. It could have been that their debit card expired. They didn't think of calling the practice to update it. It could be that a check didn't, bounced or whatever. So we're going to reach out to them. We want you to suspend them, and this is where we kick in. We ask for 30 days to take over this plan. Okay, the first 20 is designed to reach out to the patient, find out, talk to Marcus or Mrs. Johnson, say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of Dr. Scott's office. Your payment on the 5th didn't go through, and they're going to share something with us right then and there. Like, oh my gosh, my debit card expired, or oh my gosh, we had a check bounce and screwed everything up. Can you process it on Tuesday the 7th? Like, absolutely, Mrs. Johnson, I'll take care of that. And then we're going to go ahead and do that on the Tuesday. We're going to send a note to the practice in writing saying that the Johnsons have paid their $500 that was due, to take one payment off of their payment plan, unsuspend the account, and they're good to go for next month. Now, what happens if the Johnsons have closed their bank account and they've disappeared off the face of the earth? We cannot find them. The last 10 days in that 30 days is to get you a check cut and sent out to you. Okay, this is truly a non-recourse program. The practice is guaranteed all the payments, and so that's how it works. And typically, we have a 5% overall default rate that we can't collect, which is the reason we have to charge a 15% fee. Making 10% is reasonable in this business environment, but that's kind of a minimum. And you'll find that it's competitive with the real world, because as of a week ago tomorrow, Bankrate.com, the average credit card rate in the U.S. was 14.35. Okay. And that's compounded interest. We just charge a flat fee of 15. So that's how the default situation works. What's cool about is it can function as a companion program. So, with Care Credit maxing out at $2,500, now if you have a $5,000 procedure, Care Credit will take care of $2,500. What are they going to do with the other $2,500? They're already reaching out, asking for financing. That's when you can come in and off. What happens with this time of the year? Insurance benefits max out. Just put the rest on. I mean, it's a great thing to have. Here's a couple of case studies of some of the higher volume people. This would be relevant to these are plastic surgeons, and this would be relevant to the funeral home industry or high-end industry, implants, that sort of thing. Because you can see where the case ranges are. There's as little as $4 to $750 to as much as $13,000 to $17,000. Okay, and what you're going to find is that the funeral business is quite a money maker, and you can get well above $10,000 without blinking an eye.
That's one of our motivations to give them an option they can trust.
Exactly. So, but you can see what's happening is you're getting this serious chunk of change, collected up front out of that $1.8 million. They've got almost $800,000 right there. Okay, down, and look at the monthly residual. That's like an annuity, $98,000 a month in continuing revenue. Okay, here they've got $92,000 down. They've got $10,000 a month in continuing revenue. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Let's say that it's the funeral home business where the average plan is $12,000. It's reasonable to assume that you're going to have probably in the funeral home business, you're going to have traffic of somewhere between 10 and 20 a week, okay? Now, of that 10 or 20, the national average is that a third of them need some sort of assistance. So if you're able to capture even 2 of those a month at $10,000, you're looking at $250,000 a year.
Okay, but it will cap at 20.
We limit our exposure because there's no credit check involved.
Sure. Now, the requirements, I remember you mentioned that in the beginning. They need to have a valid debit card, credit card, and
they have to have a valid ID. Mm-hmm. They have to have a credit card or debit card that's attached to a checking account, not a prepaid card.
Right.
Then now you have, if you remember on that plan, there was an option for a secondary card. Okay. If the debit card doesn't go through, we want the business to simply run that other card, but it's always the primary always has to be a debit card.
Okay, gotcha.
Let me ask you one other thing again. Okay, now PayPal has a debit card that is attached to an account. There's about 4 or 5 different types of them, but any of those qualify?
I would say as long as it's a traditional bank and with a routing number and an account number, and PayPal, I believe, has those 2 functions, that would be fine.
Oh, yeah, because they offer some cards that have a specific routing number up to itself, yeah.
Correct, and I think they have, they offer actual paper checks as well, so that would probably qualify, for
what about an ID? U.S. passport is an ID?
Yes, U.S. passport is fine.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has to be a U.S. issued ID.
Now, is there any type of requirement for proof of employment or anything?
No. Okay. Not on. We have a verification program that has that, but that's not what would be offered in this case.
Okay.
Now, here's what it takes to get licensed. Okay. We have a one-time fee of $1,995 that's charged to the practice to help us offset the cost of bringing a practice on. Okay. Now, what that includes is licensing of a single location, training of the staff, installation of the software, as well as service and support for a year. Okay. It costs us a lot more to bring a practice on because it impacts everybody in our organization, each department, et cetera. We don't make any money on the practice whatsoever. We just help offset our costs for that. We will not offer to a practice that it doesn't make sense to have operate. Okay, we just because our risk is too great and our initial investment is too great. If we can see that a business will generate at least $20,000 annually, then we will consider them for the program. A funeral home will consistently pull in between $200,000 and $1 million a year. A higher end dental practice will go, in the $500,000 range easily, and a normal dental will go from $80,000 to $125,000. So, and then there's a renewal of $995 a year. I mean, if there's a change in staff, we will retrain the staff at our expense. That's not an issue, but we don't have all of the initial cost, which is the reason that the renewal drops down to $995 after that. So, I mean, it's clearly a no-brainer. I mean, to gain $125,000 a year to $1 million for $1,995 initial investment. Funeral homes have proven to be a very profitable entity. I would prove that from an underwriting standpoint without an issue. Our underwriting bank is Wells Fargo. Our merchant processing company is a company called JetPay that is based out of Dallas. And the reason for their name is they do Expedia, Orbitz, Travelocity, all the processing for those sites. They do about $13 billion a year in merchant processing. So they're, fairly major player. They do all of our medical practices. But what I will do is I'll send you over one of the service agreements so you can see how that works. It takes about 10 days to get everything situated, but I'll send that over to review. We stick to the service industry.